Welcome to the Life After Plus One podcast, where we turn life's lemons into delightful lemonade. Get ready for inspiring stories, uplifting conversations, and all the tips and tricks to rock your single parent journey with style. I'm your host, Leanne, and it's time to embrace the adventure of Life After Plus One. So, let's dive in. Hello, welcome back to Life After Plus One. I'm Leanne, your podcast host and your single parent mentor and coach. And today, I'm going to go straight into today's topic of communication and how important it is. Now, really, there is a lot to unpack when you talk about the topic of communication. There's the different communication styles, there's different relationship styles, there's reasons why people communicate different ways. But today, I just want to focus on the importance of it. And it really does get underestimated how important having healthy communication is in our day-to-day life, especially when you're co-parenting, when you're in relationships, when you're parenting and talking to your kids. Having that healthy relationship and knowing how to communicate in an effective manner makes the world of difference with your relationships. It really does. And sadly, it is a huge factor when it comes to relationship breakdowns because people aren't communicating effectively. They aren't saying what they want. Now, to dive straight into it, we need to remember that when it comes to communication, you can't, when you're first meeting someone, like for example, you're a single parent and you're going out on a date and you don't want to say certain things because you don't want to upset them, or you don't want to talk about things because you think it might turn them off, or you don't know how they're going to perceive you. But if you're avoiding saying things, then you're not being your true, genuine self. But you cannot bottle things up for someone or with someone forever. For example, if there's something they say that really grinds you, or something that you don't like about them, or something that's happening in the relationship that's really frustrating you, or you think they're doing something, but you don't say anything about it. You just think, oh, I don't want to upset them. I don't want to talk about it. Or the common one, I don't know how to approach it. And this mentality leads to people constantly bottling things up and not expressing their true feelings and how they really feel about the other person or about the relationship or about what's happening. They're bottling things up because they're too scared to approach the topic. But then later down the track, maybe 2-3 months down the track, or maybe even a year, you're with this person and something's happened and you're like, I can't keep bottling these things up. I need to start talking about it. And then eventually you're going to look maybe crazy. They're going to be like, who's this person? This is not what I've seen before. Because at the start you weren't being genuine. You were hiding your true feelings of what you thought. Now, it's so important to remember that talking about certain things, whether it be your feelings, whether it be something that's happened, something that you've misunderstood, something that they've said and you've taken it the completely wrong way, anything at all. It's important to approach it as it happens. Don't see something happen and go, oh, I'm too scared to talk about it. I'm just going to leave it. And then you bottle it up. Boom. They're seeing this side of you all of a sudden that they haven't seen because you haven't been speaking about things. And all of a sudden something's happened where it's pushed you to the point where you've just erupted. And now they're seeing this whole new version of you. This is one reason why it's so important to communicate things along the way. And yes, you will get people who avoid having these discussions. Not everyone likes to sit down and be real and have adult conversations. Not everyone likes to talk about feelings and emotions and what's upsetting you. But you need to keep in mind, if something's happened and it's really bothering you to the point you feel like you need to talk about it, but you're not, and you're not talking about it because you're worried about their reaction, then you need to ask yourself this question. Is that someone you want to be with? Do you want to continue to be in a relationship with someone because you're scared about how they're going to react? Or would you rather be in a relationship with someone that you know you can communicate things with when something's happened that you don't like, and they can comfort you by reassuring you that there is no problem? They can reassure you that what you're worrying about or what you're concerned about are just not true to the actual situation of what's happening. So this is why it's so important. Something might happen where you might be dating someone and you haven't heard from them and you think, well, I haven't heard from them. They mustn't like me, or they must be dating someone else. They must have found someone else better. Or another one I've seen When someone's gone on a date with someone and that other person hasn't messaged or checked in with them, and neither has this person. No one's checked in with each other, and they're both refusing to do it because they don't want to be the other person, or because they think they're going to get rejected by the other person. So both people are refusing to check in on the other person to say, hey, date went really well. I'd love to see you again. But both parties are refusing to send that message because they're both waiting for the other person. It's so important that if you like someone, say you like them. If you don't like them, say, hey, it was lovely meeting you, but this is not what I'm looking for. I'm sorry. It is so important. We are adults. It is so important to be able to communicate. And this is what promotes and encourages healthy relationships down the track. And so one of these people in this situation turned around and said, well, I'm giving up. They're clearly not interested. I'm moving on. They've ghosted me and found someone better. But she even made reference to the fact that she liked this person, but she didn't want to reach out to him because he hadn't reached out to her. Now, I know some people like the old school way about it where the guys approach the girls and the girls expect the guys to kind of initiate all the contact. And that's nice. It is nice when that happens. But there's nothing stopping you as a female to also do that back to them and say, hey, it was lovely meeting you. And it does feel nice to receive that first message. I'm not going to lie. It is nice to sit back and wait for that guy to message you and say, hey, it was lovely meeting you last night. But it's so important to drop the whole guessing game and the whole game playing scenario in the dating world and in life in general. People play games of playing hard to get, or I'm not going to message in case this, or I'm not going to call in case that, or I don't want to say too much just in case this. But that's playing games, and that's leaving the other person to guess and wonder, okay, maybe do they like me? Maybe they don't. Should I do this? Should I do that? Who has time for that? Why would you not want to be just straight up, honest and clear? Hey, I like you. I had a really fun time. Looking forward to seeing you again. Why do people insist on playing games? And so many people struggle with the idea of, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. But really, what you need to say is exactly what you would say to a friend or to anyone. If you were talking to a friend about your current situation and said, I like this guy. He was really nice. He was good looking. He was a real gentleman. And I'd love to see him again, but I don't know what to do. Well, do you know what? You've just answered yourself then. You send a message and say, I had a lovely time meeting you. It was really nice and I'd love to see you again. That's exactly what you say. And it goes with any kind of situation. You don't need to overanalyze things. If you want to say something to someone and you don't know what to say, what's the actual issue? Okay, the issue is that I feel like they're hiding their phone from me, and anytime I ask them a question about it, they hide their phone, which leaves me concerned. And I don't know how to approach them about it. You know what? That's exactly what you say to them. I feel like every time I talk to you about your phone, you hide your phone from me and you get angry and I don't know what's going on and it doesn't make me feel comfortable. And if they can't reassure you in that moment, then that's a big red flag in itself. You want a partner that can turn around and reassure you, go, hey, there's nothing to worry about. I just didn't want to disturb you. The phone kept going off and I knew you were watching your show and I wanted to leave you in some quiet time. Whatever, I don't know. I'm just making up a scenario here. But this is how important it is to talk about things. There's so many people in the dating world and in relationships and even with their kids. When their kids have done something and they don't know how to approach it, what do I say? Exactly that, exactly what's happened. You're the parent. And it's really common to see people that stew over things and they worry and they overanalyze. Oh my gosh, he said this or he thinks this or I haven't heard from him or he hasn't called me or he's, I haven't spoken to him all day today or my kids are constantly hiding out in their room. I don't see them. I want to spend time with them. I don't know what to say. What do I do? Do you know what? Exactly what you would say in that situation if you were explaining it to someone. If you were with a partner and something was happening in that situation, you've got to be able to communicate it. And the way to do it is not going in and getting angry at someone. Why the hell have you not called me? I've been waiting all day for your phone call. What's happened? Who are you talking to? Are you talking to other people? Are we over now? What's happened? You don't want to go in with that mentality. Having a good level of open communication is extremely important, but it's even more so important to do it without being negative and angry and going in there with a fight kind of mentality. I will get them. I will show them. And you get on the defense because you feel like you've been hurt. You feel like you've been let down. But there's a good chance you may not have been. You've just totally misunderstood the situation. Maybe your kids are in their bedroom and you think they're avoiding you, but it's just kids these days. Maybe they're just on the devices and they've got nothing else to do. So go in there and talk to them. Hey, you keep hiding out. What's going on? Let's go have some fun together. It's all about communicating things. And it goes with your boss, it goes with kids, it goes with relationships, it goes with your co-parent, anyone in your life. You can't go through life as an adult go, oh, I don't know what to say, or I can't say this, I might upset them, or I can't do that. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Because like I said, either one, you're going to end up bottling these things up and then later down the track, you're going to actually start to release how you feel, start talking about how you feel, and they're not used to seeing this version of you and it'll throw them off and they won't like it. Or two, you can keep sucking it up, you can keep bottling it up and you can keep not saying or doing anything about it, and then you're going to end up being miserable because you're in a situation that you're not liking because you're too scared to say or do anything about it. So common to put ourselves in situations where we overanalyze things. Even with a boss, maybe your hours have dropped at work and you just start thinking, oh no, my boss doesn't like me. I must have done something wrong. What have I done? But really, maybe they're just cutting back on hours because they just need to cut back on their budget. It just goes with anything. And in that situation, instead of stewing on it, just saying, hey, is everything okay? I've noticed my hours have dropped. Approach it. It goes with anything. We are all human beings. We are all adults. There is no reason to be scared of another person and not be able to say anything. And especially when it comes to dating, if you're out in the dating world and you're looking to meet someone specific and you know what you're looking for, don't wait till after a few dates and you've gone out and you've met this person and then you realize now is the time I should tell them what I'm looking for because it's not them. You tell them straight off the bat. Communicate. It's so important to say what you're looking for. Don't lead people on. Or maybe you've met someone and you're going out on a first date together and they've thrown out the comment that they want you to go to their house at the end of the first date, but you don't want to do that. You've got no interest in going to their house on the first date, which I don't blame you. I wouldn't do that either. But then you find out it's not so much that they want you to go back to their house, as they're talking about options to continue the date in case it goes well. Okay, so if this date goes well, if lunch goes well, then maybe you can come back to mine afterwards, or maybe we can go out and grab a movie or go grab a drink or something. And you're just there thinking, well, no, they just want to get in my pants. It's not what I want on a first date. I've got no interest in that. They're not for me. They're out. Talk to them. There's nothing wrong with communicating that because, yes, maybe they are being sleazy, but on the flip side of that, maybe they're just genuinely really interested. Maybe they're just really excited about going on a date and they're probably handling it like a kid on Christmas morning and getting really excited and planning all these extra things just in case it goes really well. But you're just thinking, oh, what a sleaze bucket. No way. I'm not doing that with you. Just the date. That's enough. Thanks. So you're pushing this person away who's really excited, and then you've broken this poor person's heart because they just wanted to spend more time with you. And again, they could have been a sleazeball. They could have been just 100% genuinely wanting to spend more time with you. This is why it's so important to not jump to conclusions. If someone's saying something you don't like, approach it. In that situation, you could have just said, hey, you know what? Let's just see how the date goes. If it goes well, then yeah, maybe we can stick around and have more time together. If not, then we'll just play it by ear on the day. But then if it does make you feel really uncomfortable, let them know, hey, you know what? When you keep pushing this, it makes me feel uncomfortable. It makes me feel like you're just wanting one thing from me, and that's not what I'm after. Make sure you're on the same page about that. Tell them. And if they are genuinely after that, well, they are just wanting just a one night stand, then they'll say, well, what's wrong with that? And then you know where they stand. But then they might turn around and say, oh no, sorry, I'm sorry if I came off like that. I'm just really excited to see you and spend some time with you. And then it puts your mind at ease. At least you know where you stand and you know where they stand. But when you're presuming things and you're jumping to conclusions and you're not talking about how it's making you feel, then it's never going to end up with a positive outcome. You need to start a relationship off on a good open foot. And to do that, you need to have that good open communication. And it applies to anything. And just keep in mind, remember, if they're not willing to talk to you about these things and having that open communication is extremely important for you in a relationship, then they're not the ones for you. If you're scared to talk to someone because you're scared of their reaction, then they're probably not the right person for you, because you're going to go through that relationship years down the track when something happens and you're like, oh shit, I can't talk to them in case he gets angry or in case she gets angry at me. How's that going to work out? That's not going to work out to be a positive relationship. You want someone, if you know that something's happened in the early days and they can turn around and reassure you and comfort you and let you know that, nope, nothing's wrong, you're just overanalyzing this. That's what you want in a partner. So if you bring it up in the early days and that's how they approach it, you know you're in good hands. But if they get on the defense straight off the bat pretty early when you've approached something, red flag. You need to stop and ask yourself, okay, is that someone I want that's going to get defensive when I ask a question or when I'm concerned about something? I want someone that's going to make me feel safe and feel comfortable. This person's not doing that because they're making me feel like shit because I'm not comfortable. And that's not okay. And I think I mentioned this in a few episodes back on one of the other dating topics. I dated a guy years ago and he was someone that just never liked to talk about things. He never communicated about anything. So whenever I did something or said something, which in my mind, it wasn't anything negative, but he was, I don't want to say it, but he was quite precious. You needed to bubble wrap him when you spoke to him. Otherwise he got really offended. So if I ever said something which in his mind came out in a negative or an offensive way, he'd run and tell his mates, oh, she said this, she said that. And then I'd find out later down the track because I'd hear them talking about it. I'm like, well, why didn't you just tell me? If you're upset at something I said, first of all, I'm sorry. Second of all, I can't change anything if you're not telling me that you're not liking it. I'm not intentionally trying to upset you or hurt you. So if you're taking it the wrong way, then I'm sorry. But I can't fix it or change it or do anything different if you're just running and telling your mates and not telling me. That's why it's so important. Now, clearly, obviously, that relationship didn't last for those exact reasons. It just kept happening. It kept happening. And quite a horrible position to be put in when you don't feel like you're doing anything wrong. You're just someone that likes to talk about things. You like to discuss things. You don't sweep things under the carpet. So when you do talk about things and they get all precious and upset about it and they run and tell their friends, it's not a nice feeling. It just makes you feel like a shitty person because they're not willing to communicate that back to you, but they talk about it to their friends. So whatever you can say to your friends about your partner or someone else or someone that you're having the issue with is exactly what you say to that person, and that's who you should be speaking to. The person you're dating, the person you're having the issue with, your friend, your boss, whoever. If you've got something you need to say and you can say it to your friends, you should be saying it to that person. Because a majority of the times these things are happening, it's just from a misunderstanding. Like, for example, if this guy actually came back and spoke to me, he realized there was nothing to be worried about. He's just totally overanalyzed it and blown everything out of proportion and thought I was saying something that I didn't and ran off and told his mates, and his mates heard one side of the story and like, oh, fuck, you should get rid of her. Instead of just coming to me and saying, hey, when he said that, it kind of upset me, or I don't like it when you do that, or that really offended me, or whatever it is. If you don't like something that someone's doing, you need to approach them. You need to be true to yourself. Don't keep bottling things up. Those people pleasers are not the ones that are going to help you get somewhere in life. And you will learn in life that the people who are honest with you are the people that will help you grow and be a better person, because they will pull things up with you. They might give you some constructive criticism or constructive feedback, I should say. And that's what you learn from. That's how you grow as a person, because those are the people that tell you things that make you step back and go, Okay, valid point. Maybe I shouldn't have said it like that, or maybe I shouldn't have brought it up at all. But when you're dealing with those constant people pleasers who are too scared to say anything, you're not learning anything. You're not growing. You're not doing anything new as a person. The majority of the time, you're not even having a real, genuine relationship because you're both hiding your feelings about certain things because you're too scared to talk about it. And also, another big thing when we're talking about the importance of communication, it also applies to listening. You can't just say what you want to say and that's it. You walk out, you're done. You need to be respectful and listen to the other person's side. Listen to what they have to say. Communicating comes about you saying how you feel, you saying what you want, what your expectations are, what you're expecting out of the relationship. And then you need to listen to the other person when they have their say. It goes both ways. So you can't just say something and then block them, or say something then run off and go, no, I don't want to deal with it now. Or you can't just say something and go, too bad, this is how it is. Having that healthy communication with anyone is about talking and being able to speak up and say what's on your mind, and being respectful of that person and listening to them say what's on their mind. So you both need to be able to express yourselves in a healthy way, and you both need to be able to reassure each other that you understand where you're both coming from. And if you're not on the same page, and if you're not understanding, and if you're just not going to get there, then you need to ask yourself, is that a relationship that's going to work? This goes with any situation. You might go on a date with someone, then they might actually be respectful enough to let you know, thanks for the lovely date, but it's not what I'm looking for. And then you could turn around and get angry at them, because you haven't really listened to their reasoning. Someone telling you that it's not what I'm looking for is an actually perfect reason for someone to give you. You just might be on different pages. You might not be wanting the same thing, and that's okay. So you can't just then get on the defense and get angry at them. You need to be respectful that they've actually had the courage to come and tell you. So when it comes to communication, you can't just get angry at someone because they're saying something to you don't like. You need to take it on board. You need to be respectful of how they think and how they feel and what they're saying. You've got to listen to it. And then if you don't agree, that's okay. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean you have to respond with a yell or a scream or a fight. You can take it on board and then you give your feedback and say, okay, I hear you, but I kind of don't agree. I'm sorry, it's not where I was coming from, or that's not what I meant, whatever it is. But you don't have to respond with someone in a yelling match because it's not what you were getting at, or it's not what you were saying. It's not the point you were trying to get across, whatever it is. So this is why it's so important to talk to people. If it's something you don't like, or something that's happened that they've said, or you're going somewhere that you really don't want to, but you're going to suck it up and do it just for your partner. Well, hey, maybe that's a nice thing. But if it's something that happens all the time, then bring it up and talk about it. Hey, listen, I love doing these things with you, but this is not for me. It's not what I enjoy doing. So maybe once in a while I'm happy to do it with you, but not every week. Maybe every now and then you could do it with your friends or with your kids, but this is not for me. Communicate these things. Don't just suck things up and then be miserable and then go and complain to your mates or your friends about how much of a bitch or you're an asshole your new partner is, because they're not listening to you, or because they're making you do things that you don't want to do. No one's making you do anything, especially if you're not telling them that you don't like it, or especially if you're not communicating it to them that this is not for you, or it's not something that interests you. So just the basics of what I'm talking about is just the importance of being able to communicate. Now, I will take this topic into further discussion in another episode later down the track, talking about the different communication styles and how they affect us as adults, and how different ways of our upbringing and everything else determines the way we do communicate. But it's so important that if you're in a situation, especially when you're with your ex and you're co-parenting, or when you're meeting someone new and you're dating and something's happened and you don't like, don't just get angry and then come out yelling just to get your point across. You don't have to take things so personally. Not everyone in this life is going to see things the way we do. Not everyone is going to have the same opinions that we do. We are all unique. We are all different. We all have our own viewpoints. It doesn't mean someone is less than. It doesn't mean someone is bad. It doesn't mean they're a horrible person because they have a different outlook than what we do. Take it on board and listen to their opinions. And then if you want to say something, then say it. But don't have to get into a fighting match because you have a difference of opinion. Sometimes it's good to meet people that have a difference of opinion. And you can learn a whole new outlook on things. So just remember, if something's happening you don't like, if you're in the dating world, if someone's approached you about going on a date and there's something you're not sure about or something you're uncomfortable about, but you're too scared to say anything, no, don't. I need you to get out of that fear factor and actually realize that, no, you not saying anything, showing that you're not being honest with yourself. You're covering up your feelings. You're covering up what you're thinking because you're too scared to talk about it. It's so important to be able to just bring things up and just remember that if you don't know how to say it, you say it like you would talk to your friend. Okay, this has happened. I'm not sure how I feel about it. What should I say? Just that. Exactly that. Exactly how you'd say it to a friend. And you don't get angry at someone because something's happened that you don't like. There's a good chance that they're not trying to upset you or they're not trying to piss you off or they're not trying to hurt you. They just communicate things in a very different way, which is life. This is going to happen. There are so many different people and so many different backgrounds, and that all plays a huge role on how people communicate with other people. Some don't like to look at people in the eye. They don't like to give eye contact, where some people think it's rude if you don't give eye contact. Everyone has different communication styles. So you've got to be open-minded and understanding that when someone communicates something to you or says something or does something that you don't like, it may not necessarily be a rude thing or an attack on you or them being nasty. So remember, don't take it personally. It's so common these days for people to take things so personally and get on the defense. Step back and just have a look at the situation and then approach the other person. Talk to them about it. If they're not willing to talk to you and listen to your version or your side of the story or how you're feeling, then that's when you question, is this a healthy relationship for me? But if they are willing to listen to you and if they are willing to reassure you and comfort you, then that's an excellent sign that this is a healthy relationship. And that's how you want it. You want someone that can talk back and listen to you and communicate with you and reassure you and comfort you. And then you need to give them that same respect. You need to listen to them. You also need to reassure them and comfort them and do all those things that you're wanting from them to give to you. So just remember, they're the basics of a healthy relationship or basics of having good communication skills. And like I said, there is so much more involved when it comes to communication, but this is the main basics of it. Being able to communicate things and not just running away and hiding your feelings. Be true to yourself and speak up when something's not right. And I always say, just because you're saying how you feel and saying what's on your mind doesn't mean you're being rude. You don't have to approach it in a rude way. And you can say anything you want, but there's always a kind and polite way to say it. Just because something's happened that you disagree with doesn't mean you need to get rattled and then start getting angry. You can approach anything you want if you do it in a kind and polite way. Be respectful of the other person because there's a good chance they were not trying to hurt you or upset you. And if they are, then you usually know. You can usually tell. They might have turned around and go, well, you're just a fucking bitch. Well, you know that they're just trying to be an asshole. So that's not miscommunication there. They've pretty much shown you how they think and how they feel. So you don't need to sit there and say, tell me more about that. What do you mean by that? No, you don't really need to listen to any more after that. They've said their piece. But it's more so if they're communicating something that you've just totally misunderstood, something that you can perceive in a totally different way. That's when you sit down and talk to someone. Okay, what's going on? I don't get this. That made me feel a little bit uncomfortable. I'm not sure I like that. When you're getting to know someone, when you're first starting in the dating world, communicate as much as possible because that's how you find out who they are. That's how you find out what kind of person they are and if that's someone that you see yourself with months or years down the track. So don't avoid phone calls. Don't avoid adult conversations. Don't avoid talking about how you feel, because you're not communicating what your needs are. You're not being true to yourself. So just remember, when you're wanting to create those healthy relationships, you need to be honest with yourself, and you need to be honest with the person that you're in the relationship with. And you need to respect them back and listen to them when they want to talk to you. So they're the basics of having some good communication skills. Listening to the other person, talking about what you want. Don't get angry. Don't get on the defense. Don't start attacking the other person. Ask them to explain the situation because you weren't comfortable with how it landed on your end. Talk about things. And if someone is not willing to communicate with you, someone's not willing to reassure you, then you need to ask yourself, is this someone that I want to be with? Because they sound like they're avoiding issues. And I don't want to be with someone that's going to avoid issues. I want to be with someone that's going to be able to handle things, that can understand and talk about things and not just run away and hide. So it just depends on what you're looking for in a friendship, in a relationship, in a partnership. You need to work that out if that's something you can continue on with or not. So that's some basics there about communication. So please remember, talk about things. Don't just when something happens with someone, run to Facebook and go, oh, they've said this. What does that mean? Ask them. Ask the person, what do you mean by that? I don't get it. Stop asking people on Facebook about things that have happened when they don't know the other person's situation, or they don't know the tone or how it was said or what was happening in the situation. That actually determines more about that whole situation. So if something's happened with another person, don't run to your friends, don't run to social media, run to the person that's happened with, or that just did something that you're not comfortable with. Bring it up with them and talk to them. That's how you resolve these things. That's what it's about. That's how to start the healthy communication with other people. All right, guys. So that's about it from me. I'm going to wrap it up. And as I always say, I hope you got something from this. And please remember, talk about things. Don't bottle things up. If you're dating someone and you're seeing something happening and it's really pissing you off, but you're just like, I'm just going to let it slide. I'm going to let it slide. Bring it up with them. Just say, hey, I've noticed this happening a lot. Why do you do that? Or I don't feel comfortable. Whatever it is, ask them about it. Talk to them. They might just go, oh, well, sorry, I didn't realize it upset you. Or they might be like, oh, I had no idea I was even doing that. And it's quite common. People can say things and do things and not even realize in the moment until someone brings it up to them and be like, hey, why did you just say that? Or why did you just screw your face up at me? And I'm like, oh, I didn't do that. What do you mean? Some people don't realize in the moment. So communicate, talk about things. Don't just sit there and bottle things up and then run to other people and talk to them. And then you're throwing this other person under the bus because you're too scared to talk to them. Be an adult. Say how you feel. Say what you want. Say what you're expecting from the other person. And as I said, if they're not going to give you the respect and listen to you, they're not going to give you the respect and reassure you and comfort you, then that's not a person that you need to continue a friendship or a relationship with. And also remember that this goes with your ex as well, with your co-parenting. You need to be able to communicate with them. Now, it's as hard as that can be sometimes, but it's important to, as I touched on in this episode, to not just get angry. Even though you want to get angry, you've got to separate those breakup emotions and those parenting emotions. They're two different things. When you're parenting, just focus on communicating what you need. You don't need to necessarily ask how they're feeling or what's happening or why they said this or why they said that. You don't need to worry about that. You just need to communicate about the kids. That's your focus in that situation. So keep your defense down. Don't take things personally. And just talk about something when something happens that doesn't sit right with you. That's so important. Don't bottle it up. Don't sweep it under the carpet because you think you're doing the right thing. You're trying to be a people pleaser, but you're not being true to yourself and you're not being true to that relationship. All right. That's enough from me today. So thank you all. And as I said, I really hope you got something from this. If you have any feedback, you want to ask me a question, anything you want to share, you have something about your current situation, your breakup, your divorce or anything, and you want to ask me a question, shoot it through to my website. I've got a contact page there, or jump onto my Instagram page at LifeAfterPlus1 and shoot me a message. I will get back to you, or I'm happy to even discuss it on the show for you. If you have anything else you want to ask, please jump on, share it. I'm here to listen and ask and answer, I should say, any questions you have. And guys, also, if you're loving the show, please give me a review. I want to hear your feedback. Write some comments, give me a review, show me that you're loving it, and share it with your single parent friends, and let's get it out there for our single parent community. All right, guys, thanks again. That's enough from me. And until next week, I'll be in your ears then. Thank you for joining us on the Life After Plus One podcast. If you loved what you heard today and looking for some further support, then jump onto our website, lifeafterplusone.com. Plus, don't forget to check out our Instagram page for further resources and inspo. You can find all the links in the show notes. And remember, you're not alone on this path. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next episode. And in the meantime, keep thriving, keep growing, and keep exploring your amazing life after plus one.